All right, welcome in, everybody. It is Monday. It's time for Total Bases, extensive slate we have here today. This was clearly the Major League Baseball rainout sort of makeup mutual off day. And I was just telling these guys, we haven't had any rain here in the Northeast in months. So all the usual candidates for a rainout that would be making up a game today are not playing. So it's left us with 3 games. So what that means for you guys is we're going to cover all the games easily. And it's probably a good day. If you have any questions that are like futures related or like just general sort of betting questions, we can probably fit one in. But we're going to just be kind of going through the slate. We're still going to get a parlay out. I think we've kind of each agreed to take one game and still fire out our 3-teamer. So this is probably what the show is going to be like come playoff time anyway. So we might as well like give it a try and see how it goes. So Bryan, Leonard, I'm going to start with you. Write down the list. We're going to get to all 3 games. First game is going to be, again, not a whole lot of meaning here. So you're going to have to find a good way in. But it's Nationals Braves. And it looks like we've got Mackenzie Gore, Chris Sale. So a couple of southpaws going in Atlanta tonight. Do you see an angle into Nationals Braves?
Yeah, this is a rematch of the last time these 2 teams pitched, and Chris Sale won 8 shutout innings in that game. Sale right now and the Atlanta Braves have won 8 straight games. They're at home to finish off the season. They cannot still have a break-even season. They're still going to, even if they sweep the rest of their games, they'll still have a losing year. But, hey, this is a team that we wrote off a long time ago. A lot of heart out of this Atlanta team. So I got to give them some credit there. They come in about a 250 favorite right here. Total is 7, slightly to the over. And I am going to try to find a way to play the Washington Nationals in this game. In that game, the Sale threw 8 innings of shutout ball. Gore also threw 5 innings of shutout ball. And if you take a look at what Gore has done on the season, comes in with a 4-run ERA, 4.15 expected, 1.32 whip. A lot of good. Extension 85th percentile, strikeout rate 82nd, whiff rate 82nd. His average exit velocity is only in the 18th, barrel 18th, and hard hit 20th, means he can be hit. And he does throw 49% of his pitches as fastball, which is something you always have to take a look at. But if you take a look at the Washington bullpen today, they're in much better shape. I know they don't have a very good bullpen, but nobody pitched yesterday at all. They did have to use everybody just about on Saturday. And in fact, Ferrer had to throw 43 pitches. He probably won't be available, but the rest of the guys will. And when you take a look at the Atlanta Braves bullpen, they're in really bad shape in this one. They had the last, let's just go down the list. Iglesias pitched the last 2 days. Kinley pitched 2 out of the last 3. Lee the last 2. Johnson the last 2. Dodd the last 2. And Stratton 2 out of the last 3. So then we got to say, well, they do have the really good pitcher on the mound to start the game, and they do. Chris Sale's been terrific. Comes in 2.35 ERA, 2.73 expected, and 1.07 whip. And he's been really good at everything he does. But he's basically a 2-pitch pitcher right now, a slider and his 4 same. Great pitcher. Hate the situation here for Atlanta. I am going to play, since the line is 7, means the run line is worth a little bit more money than it normally does. I'm going to take Washington plus the 1.5. It looks like minus 105 out there. So give me Washington plus 1.5, minus 105 in this game. It's going to be, you already know it's going to be a low-scoring game. To get that extra half a run for a team who's probably going to bat 9 times, where the opponent only bats 8, I can't pass that up.
What's up, guys? Yeah, it's a Monday. Take a look at wagertalk.com to see what we have up. I have one MLB play up right now. I'm sure these guys will or have already. Brian's right. This game doesn't really mean anything, but man, Atlanta has – if Atlanta played like this to start the season, maybe they'd be playing for something right now, but they're red hot right now. One of the best pitchers on the mound, Mackenzie Gore, started the season a Cy Young candidate. He was in my top 10 all starting pitchers for the whole first half of the season, and then since the All-Star break just dropped off a cliff. So on a curve of 30, I have Chris Sale ranked 3, and I have Mackenzie Gore ranked 17 out of all starting pitchers. Curve of 30. Washington's bullpen is worst in MLB in current form, ranked 30, where Atlanta's is 10, and hitting wise, Atlanta's 4, and I got Washington 22. So I think Atlanta would be the only way to go for me. Odds are way too juicy to do that. So a -1.5 for the Atlanta Braves, maybe. Either that or a first 5 minus the half run, perhaps, would be how I would go on this if I bet it.
Yeah, I have to say, I was very much wrong about the Braves. I said on this show going into this month that they would probably roll over in September, that they really were just going to be the team that you would probably want to fade because I felt like it was veterans. They had nothing to play for. And the Atlanta Braves have won 8 straight games. Now, it's not going to really, there's nothing of note to take away there. They've really been here to torment the Tigers more than anything. But credit to the Braves. I thought this team was going to, I just didn't see much of a reason for them to care, show up to the ballpark to finish out this season. And they have won 8 straight. I believe since the Guardians finally lost a game, this is now the longest active winning streak in the league. So they're playing, they're playing good ball, I guess, short term. That being said, I actually kind of look at this as a letdown spot for Atlanta a little bit. Like, I do think they were embracing the spoiler role a little bit the last couple weeks, especially over the weekend. So this weekend, they swept the Tigers. Bryan Leonard's happy about that. Somehow, man, it definitely is a Monday. All my stuff just froze. I don't know how, like, all my screens just froze. I wanted to cue up the Braves win streak right here because I was going to make a point and everything froze. Okay, here we're back. So yes, they had the sweep of the Nationals in as part of that 8-game winning streak, but the winning streak started against the Astros, and then this weekend they went up to Detroit and won 3 straight games. Now they come back home to play the Nationals again, who they just smacked around and beat 4 times in a row. So you have to ask yourself, like, is this a little bit of a kind of like a not the best spot for the Braves? Bryan already pointed out the bullpen is very, very tired. Last 2 days, 6-5 win over the Tigers, 6-2 win yesterday, used most of their leverage arms. So that's certainly a concern. The only concern I have for the Nats is they really don't line up well against left-handed pitching. So I'm assuming this total is what's the total here? Is it 7?
7.
I don't think I could I don't think I could get down with the 7, but I do think it might be a low scoring game. So I think I'll roll with Bryan here. Nats plus 1.5 does make some sense. You get the extra at bat. I'm not going to give Atlanta like a huge bump for being at home in a game that's like just doesn't have much meaning. I don't think they're going to have a ton of juice in the ballpark. The Braves 36-39 at home this season, not much different than what they are on the road. So yeah, I think Bryan's kind of nailed this one. Nats plus 1.5, definitely getting good line value with the visitors, the extra at bat, the run to work with. So yeah, I could see that being the right side. This is an interesting question. Memphis money. Do you guys pay for sites to help with your capping? That's it. I just saw this in the chat, and I think this is very interesting because I think people want to know this. They've asked me from time to time. My answer is absolutely. If I find something like, and this is maybe more so for college basketball, like let's put it this way. If I find a product that's typically a numbers sort of based product that's going to help me generate like a baseline or a projection or something to go off of, I will. It doesn't matter what it costs. I'm happy to pay it. The nice thing is for baseball, a lot of that stuff is free. A lot of like the best stuff out there for MLB, fan graphs, a lot of that stuff is free. College basketball, they figured out how to monetize it. Everything costs money. But yes, if I think it's going to potentially help me generate a number, then I'll do it. So I'll throw it to you guys because there's no, yeah. I mean, the answer is yes. If it's a good enough product, the problem is there's a lot of bad products out there.
Yeah, I spent a lot of money on it. I play fantasy baseball, so I pay for fantasy websites that give you more detailed analysis. I pay for pitching websites that tell me what changes the pitchers are making. I pay Fangraphs. I've talked about that Ballpark Pal website. There's a lot of them out there that I gladly pay for because it saves me time and money and gives me more time to handicap the games and search for the best lines possible. And it's just not in baseball, it's for other sports too. Mm-hmm. And I've also in the past bought plays from other handicappers that handicap something that I don't. And that way it gives me another edge, or, I'm not going to release the plays like some people do. But
there are people that do that.
Yeah, there are people that do that. But I will use it for my betting. And if, I bought, back before I started handicapping hockey, I bought hockey plays from other guys that had success in the past because I didn't handicap it. I don't follow soccer, but if I did a little bit, I'd probably buy some. We got some good soccer guys on the site. I'd buy those too. So, I'm just like everybody else. I'm trying to get the biggest edge as I can and trying to win as much money as I can on a daily basis. And all these things add up and saves me time and money.
Yeah, I pay for Fangraphs, and also there's a Japanese site that I pay to get all the statistics for Japanese baseball. It's in Japanese, but in this day and age, it's very easy to convert if you can't read Japanese, but I'd leave it in Japanese and just do it that way. Yeah, there's a couple.
Yeah, and for me, especially when it comes to like once college hoop gets here and stuff, if I can find some, I like, because it's almost like there's a new one every day. And then the thing you have to really be careful with is like, what is their import data, or what data are they inputting to get, like what they're saying or something. For me, it's like, if I can find stuff that I don't think the books are pricing into the number, like that is super valuable. That's the kind of info I want. Like it's, so for me, like, man, if there was something that was just really, really good, up to date at like following injury type stuff, I would pay for that in a heartbeat. My buddy Corby and I tend to do it on our own, and like just he's messaged people on Instagram before, players, hey, are you playing tonight? It actually, and we've gotten responses, believe it or not. But yeah, any Nance says AI is access to all stat-based websites. Yeah, I'm not an early adapter to AI, but like one of our bosses, Johnny Detroit, has been sort of talking about AI for years, and the stuff that it does is absolutely terrifying. How much info you can just sort of get if you know what to put into AI. It spits out. You're like, oh wow, that's like accurate. It took 2 seconds. You're shaking your head, Brian. Yeah, that's scary. It's scary how.
I've got my brother-in-law. Is since retired, but he was shot in duty when he was a cop. And I just got on AI. It says, tell me about blah, 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 blah. And it came back, and he was just amazed. And they knew so much about him and the incident. It's just, it's very easy to do, but unfortunately, maybe going a little bit too fast for us, but hey, I won't be around when all that happens anyway. So, but there's a lot of good information out there.
Yeah, and this is like probably the best point. Steve makes a really good point here. Garbage in, garbage out. You have to know what info is going in and sort of like how you're evaluating it. And that's why I'll never be like a quote unquote just numbers handicapper. I'm always just going to use them as a starting point because it's very difficult to just trust numbers in my opinion. Like you can have the number, it can give you a starting point, but I've got to be able to like talk myself into a side, or it's got to make sense for me, or I can't bet it. Whereas I do think a lot of people just are like, well, my number's this, so this is a bet. That'll never be me. I can't wrap my head around just doing that. But yeah, for great point by Steve. And that was a very good question. I was kind of like told myself today, because we've got some extra time, I was going to look in the chat, and if there was something interesting, I was going to bring it up. That was a great question. I think Memphis Money asked that. That was a really good question right there. All right. And if you have any other ones, like I said, we're we've got a little extra time today. We'll hit them. In the meantime, let's go to game number 2. We are headed out west. It's going to be so it looks to be like they definitely scheduled a couple games in places that they didn't think it was going to rain, because I'm telling you, like, this was clearly like the day where it's like, okay, if you have a rain out and we can't get it in, you're going to have to go play today. And so the other 2 games are West Coast, nice, beautiful San Diego, probably not getting many rainouts at Petco Park. So it's Brewers, Padres, Freddie Peralta, Nick Pivetta. Kick us off, Bryan Leonard.
First off, I think you're giving the Major League Baseball schedule maker too much credit. We've seen them screw up the schedule.
Do they still do it by hand? Didn't they do it by hand for a long time?
They had used a couple, I believe, a woman and a man, married couple did it for a lot of years. But yeah, if they do something right, it's probably luck involved, because they put up games against Monday Night Football and these other things. And yeah, anyway, Peralta and Pivetta, the guys, they're in the Cy Young category, and they're fighting for votes. They're not going to win, but they're both having really good seasons. And congratulations to both of them, especially San Diego, who got Pivetta for virtually nothing in the offseason. Great signing for them. But Peralta and Pivetta, two guys having great seasons. We've got Pivetta here at about a 119, 120 favorite, and you've got Peralta about 7 on the total, slightly to the over. Keep in mind, Milwaukee has now clinched their spot. Not that they're not going to try the rest of the season, but they're stuck where they're at. They were 100% in. The Cubs are stuck where they're at. They're 100% in. No changes going on there. So we will see some changes in Milwaukee. I know they were going to put Mizorowski in the bullpen, and unfortunately, they just had the injury to Woodruff, so now they may not be able to do that. But they've got so many guys in the minors that can pitch in the playoffs. They're still in pretty good shape. But it's sad to see Woodruff come all this way back and now not be able to likely pitch in the playoffs. Peralta, 2.65 ERA, 3.31 expected, 1.07 WHIP. The only thing is his walk rate's a little high in the 26th percentile only in the ground ball rate, but he tends to pitch towards, if it's a guy that he thinks he can just put him on, he'll go to the next guy, and it seems to have worked out something well for him in his career. Nick Pivetta, 2.81 ERA, 3.95 expected, 0.97 WHIP. If you take a look at his StatCast page, it really does not show that he has been that good this year. In fact, the last 2 years, he was 4.14 and 4.04 ERAs, and the whips were much higher. His barrel rate's 10th percentile, hard hit rate 16th percentile, ground ball rate 10th percentile, average exit velocity 22nd. He's been getting hit pretty well this year. Now, he does throw 6 different pitches. That helps. Extension 85th percentile, strikeout and walk rates are good. But when you see a guy with a 2.81 ERA with 176 innings, you'd like to see a little bit more red on his StatCast page, which tells me he may be a little bit overrated coming into this game. So there may be some value on Milwaukee, but do you really want to play the Brewers when they've just clinched, they've had their party? And I do like the way the manager thinks. He puts in a lot of guys all season long, gives them a lot of breaks. I doubt if we will see some of the veterans in today's game. And so that's a concern. So I'm not finding any value here, but maybe one of you will be able to get us a part of a parlay bet here.
Yeah. I don't know why the Brewers are underdogs, but probably the only reason would be because they're not really playing for anything, and San Diego is. These guys are human beings, and, urgency is a little thing there. There's a difference between having your spot already secured and going out there and hitting in the bottom of the 9th with 2 outs and bases loaded. Is a big difference inside your head. So these guys are human beings. No urgency for Milwaukee, but they're still very talented, and these guys do care a lot about their own stats. They do. They use this in negotiating new contracts. And so if the starters are out there, they're going to be trying their darndest to hit the ball. Granted, they will have almost no urgency to do so. The Padres, despite being in an urgent situation or playing like doggy do, they look awful. They just look terrible. This team looks like a team. This team looks like they're in the position that the Atlanta Braves are in. They're playing awful, despite having extremely high level talent in their lineup, an extremely talented bullpen, and a pretty good rotation. These guys are just playing awful, and I don't know how to explain why. Pivetta has looked great this year, but against these Brewer batters, he does not look very good. He's got 63 at-bats against. He's got a 317 average against and a 934 OPS against, which is really bad. Peralta has great stats against these Padres, a 125 average against and a 454 OPS. So I'd like to play Milwaukee, but I can't, given the fact that they're not really playing for anything. But I do want to play their team total somehow, maybe a team total over. First 5 innings over 1.5 would be a pretty good bet. I'll think about making Milwaukee my parlay leg, maybe plus 1.5 with Milwaukee. It'll probably be quite juiced, but since it's a parlay leg, I think I could do that. I think even if they lose, I think they're not going to lose by a big margin. So I think Milwaukee plus 1.5 will be my parlay leg for this one.
You're laying about 220 on that.
Yeah, I figured it would be bad. I'll consider that. I'll think about that. Yeah.
I'm actually gonna bump you to the last game. Well, I'm gonna take Brewers money line here. I'm just that, so you'll get the last game. I think so. My whole thing is I agree with a lot of what you said, and I'm just gonna make your decision easy and take Brewers. What are we looking at? Like plus 110 or so? Plus 100. Where are we at, Brewers?
Maybe 108 or so, but yeah.
So what I don't understand here is why now? Why now is suddenly like the Brewers have been locked into this spot for weeks, really. I mean, yeah, so maybe they rest a couple guys. They've been doing that for weeks. And everyone plays. So to me, the odds, like nothing, this is no different than the spot the Brewers have been in for the past 3 weeks, essentially. They've had the Division I for weeks. They've essentially been the best team in the National League for weeks. So it's like, I don't understand why now they're suddenly like, oh, we're just going to price them like they don't care. It's like, well, they've essentially been in this same situation for like the past couple weeks. They've still played pretty good ball. Last 10 games, 6-4. Today's game is no different than any of the last 10 games for the Brewers. Even if something's quote unquote official now, the Cubs have had 0 shot at that division for a month. So that's irrelevant. I don't really think there's a huge difference between finishing with the best record in the NL and the second best record. I think we, as like people that evaluate the league, care about that more than the players do. I think it's more or less like, oh yeah, if we finish with the best record, it's nice, but it's just not something that's like, I don't think they're going out there like we got to hold the Phillies off. I just don't think that's how these teams think. I think again, if it happens, it's great. So I just think you're going to get the same effort you've gotten from the Brewers game in and game out, which has been very, very good. Team is 95. Where do they go? 95-61, a 181 plus 181 run differential, 45-33 against good teams. Those are above 500 teams. That's what the Padres are. Still, whether they've been playing good or not. I mean, they've played better over the weekend. They won both of their weekend games after losing the opener to the White Sox. Although I do agree with Tokyo Brandon, I haven't exactly been impressed with Padres baseball in a while. I think every once in a while they'll win a game or two, but the overall sort of like what I'm watching on the field is he's right in the respect it doesn't match up to the talent they have in that organization. Then you come to this matchup. I still think I'm getting the better arm in Peralta, and the Padres used some pen the last couple of days to close out those 2 games against the White Sox. So the price is just off. Like what happens will happen. But I just don't think I just don't think the Brewers should be plus 110 here. And I feel like the reason they're plus 110 is because this mindset that like, oh, okay, there's nothing to play for. Yet they haven't had anything to play for 3 weeks. So I'm going to make my parlay like Brewers plus 110. And I think you guys agree with me anyway. So I feel like I made your decision easy there, TB.
Yep.
Oh, all right. And I think there was a point that Turnbuckle Tommy, where did it go? He made a good point about the pricing in this game. He said What do you think about the Brewers at plus money? Well, I just gave my spiel there, but yeah, they're minus 105 for the first 5, plus 105 for the full game. That's also interesting because the full game sets up better for the Brewers. I think the Brewers bullpen sets up a little bit better than the Padres does here based on usage. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of value. From a straight value number standpoint, Brewers plus 110 makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. And again, Sean makes the point, but like we kind of talk about this a lot. Like the whole need to win, have to win, as Bryan Leonard says, if you need to win at this point in the year, you weren't that good in the first place. I still think the Padres are a good team, but and he's saying, yeah, like Milwaukee popped some bottles last night. Yeah, I still don't think they should be an underdog here. So again, not the best slate, but I'll take them plus money. Still think they're a better team than the Padres, and the setup is good enough for plus 110. Okay, let's go to the last game again. If you have just a general question, we're happy to hit it here in the last half hour or so. But we do have one more game to talk about. This will be Tokyo Brandon's parlay leg, so I'll let Bryan start us off in San Francisco, a team that I guess is still in the mix, at least for now. 3 games out of that last wild card spot, although there's a bunch of traffic ahead of them, so I don't know if they can overcome that. But they are 3 back. They did win yesterday. And so I guess you would call this a must-win for the Giants at home against the Cardinals. How are you seeing this one?
San Francisco currently with a 0.2% chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
We've got St. Louis, San Francisco, McGreevy, and Verlander. And San Francisco's about a 145 favorite, total 7.5 over 20, 8 under 115 or so. First thing that pops out at me about this game, we've got Gore and Sale with a total of 7. Peralta and Pivetta with a total of 7. McGreevy and Verlander totaled 7.5. That's too low. I mean, I know Verlander's pitching well right now, and McGreevy's a guy I like, but granted, San Francisco runs don't come very easy, but they don't come very easy in San Diego either. And we're getting this line at 7.5 over 20. To me, if I were to play this game, I would play the over. We're taking a look at here at McGreevy, 4.08 ERA, 4.47 expected, 1.20 whip. If his StatCast page is really interesting because the fastball velocity, exit fastball velocity, whiff, strikeout rates are really low. But his walk rate's really good, barrel rate, hard hit rate, ground ball rate, and extension are really high. He's a hard guy to figure out. He's thrown 7 pitches, which is, if you watch me in the past, I love young guys that don't depend on one pitch. Is 25%. He throws the most overall, so he really uses every pitch he's got. Justin Verlander, who would have thought, 3.75 ERA at this time of the year, 3-10 record. Last year he had 1.75 higher ERA, and he went 5-6. Just tells you wins and losses don't mean anything. But anyway, ERA 3.75 ERA, 4.15 expected, 1.34 whip. On his StatCast page, ground ball rate's terrible at 12%. Extension is terrible at 14%, but you don't have hit too many home runs in San Francisco, so that hasn't affected him. Everything else, his hard hit rate is 74%. Everything else is basically league average. It's a little bit lower. So he's pitched better than what we've thought, but do you take the small sample size for Verlander, or do you take the large sample size? St. Louis isn't a bad hitting team. They've got their third baseman back now. I like the over in this game. Over that 7.5 at minus 120 to me is a bargain. If you're going to play a total, I think this is the nicest total on the board. We'll see what TB has to say.
So both of these teams are playing pretty poorly right now. I've got San Francisco. San Francisco's one of the only teams in MLB that I have ranked 25th or worse in both hitting and bullpen. So they're not playing very well. They're not playing like a team that still has a possibility of making the playoffs, although they pretty much don't have a possibility after last week. They played just so awfully last week and kind of lost their chance, in my opinion. St. Louis is playing better, actually, and although they don't really have much to play for, they're ranked higher in batting and bullpen in current form right now. McGreevy and Verlander, yeah, I got them both ranked pretty much neck and neck. I got them both ranked 18 on a curve of 30, so neither one is really putting fear into their opponents. Looking at Verlander's last few games, though, he's pitched quite well. He's only given up 1 earned run in his last 3 starts. That's pretty impressive. McGreevy, in his last 3 starts, has given up 7, but one of those was a six burger against these San Francisco Giants. So what does that say? Well, I doubt he's going to give up 6 runs in 2 games in a row against the same team. A lot of people say the second matchup favors the hitters, but I don't know if I buy into that so much because the pitcher gets to know the batters as well. And the pitcher's the one who has to do more thinking than the batter. So I don't know. I think second matchup pretty even. Depends on who the pitcher is, in my opinion. I'm going to take St. Louis plus 1.5 for my parlay leg here. I think even if St. Louis loses, I think it'll be a tight game because they have the better bullpen and they have the better hitting, in my opinion. So, yeah, I'll take St. Louis plus 1.5 for my parlay leg here. I think McGreevy's pitching a little better than his stats show.
Looking about a
I'm
minus
very happy
75 on that.
Yeah, I'm very happy with how the parlay came out. If you were like, hey, Trig, give me a 3-teamer for today, I would have picked all your guys' legs. I would have said Nats plus 1.5, Brewers, and Cardinals. And Cardinals plus
Underdogs.
1.5 for the parlay is
all
fine.
Underdogs. Yeah.
Yeah,
But underdogs are winning lately. It's weird, but in MLB, a lot of underdogs are winning lately.
Yeah, I just think there's a high level of randomness at this point in the season in a lot of these games. I mean, we are in the home stretch for a lot of these teams, and I just think that there's not as big of a difference between favorite or underdog. So, you know, you're probably getting much better bang for your buck on the dogs in a lot of these cases. As far as this matchup's concerned, I talked about, so I made a 4% best bet on the Cardinals last time McGreevy pitched. He went out, shut down the Reds. He's a guy that I'm very high on going into next year. I think he is very close to figuring it out. And he may, and last start, his last time out may have been was kind of for me like, okay, like he sort of really like understands what he wants to do now. Bryan brought it up. Really good pitch mix, 7 different pitches. You don't see that often. You don't see that often from young guys, especially when they get to the majors. You know, sometimes like these 5-6 pitch guys at AAA, it's like, well, yeah, you don't need to have, you can kind of throw whatever. And if you have a couple of good pitches, you're fine. Then you get to the big leagues and it's like, okay, I can't throw my cutter here because that's going to get crushed. I can't throw my change up here because I leave it in the zone and they'll figure it out. And so you see like a 6-pitch or 5-pitch pitcher become a 2 or a 3-pitch pitcher. And typically it doesn't go well. And so that's like, that's something that's really made me excited about McGreevy is he's throwing 5-6 pitches. He seems to throw most of them well, and he throws them all off of his fastball, which is very he locates extremely well. So he locates the fastball, which I think is huge for him. It goes back to like all of these different pitchers right now that are having success that maybe shouldn't have success. There's one sort of common thread, and it's like it doesn't matter if they have 96, 97, 98. It's all about where you're throwing the fastball, right? Like it's the reason guys like Ben Lively, I know he's hurt right now, have been able to come back and be awesome since they've come back. They can, you know, they put the fastball, they might throw 91, 92, but they can put it wherever they want. And suddenly their rest of their repertoire is very effective. I see a lot of that when I watch McGreevy pitch because he's not getting swing and miss. He's not really getting you the chase, but he can kind of put the pitches where he wants. And you see, you know, he's not walking anyone. Guys are having a hard time barreling him up. Doesn't really give up a ton of hard hit. And I think it's made him, it's going to make him a very effective pitcher going forward as he can continue to like tweak that, locate better. And he was a great last time out against the Reds. So in this scenario, Verlander, he's been awesome, but I still think there's a blow up in there somewhere. Who knows? Maybe he gets to the end of the season when it doesn't happen, but he's, to me, like, I thought he was going to get crushed at some point. I played against Verlander last week with the Diamondbacks. They couldn't hit him. I don't know what that was about. But yeah, I'm with you, TB. It's got to be the Cardinals here, and I don't mind. I don't mind the 1.5 in the parlay. There was another. Here's a question. I mean, we have to at least bring this up. I have an answer here. I'll go to Bryan Leonard first, though. Markinson, he said, in all seriousness, what happened to the Tigers? I have a pretty good answer here, but I want you guys to go first. So, Bryan Leonard, what happened to the Tigers? And if you want to throw some thoughts about the Guardians pulling it off, feel free to do so.
Tigers were never as good as they were when we thought they were good, and they're not as bad as they are right now. But they're starting to feel the pressure. There was no pressure on them all season long. It's tough to play with pressure. Look at the Mets. Mets have the second highest payroll in baseball, and yet they may not make the playoffs now. I said it when Detroit was great. I said they've got the best, in my opinion, one of the best two managers in Major League Baseball. But they had a lot of guys that were having career years in the first half of the season. They've all fallen apart other than the first baseman. He's been very good all season long. But a lot of these pitchers, Detroit's had a lot of injuries for pitchers. Detroit's got like 3 guys that I really like, but because of injuries, they haven't been able to really pitch this year. And next year, I really like this pitching staff for Detroit. I think Detroit's going to run away with this division next year. But it's this year, it's a pressure thing. And even for us, when we're handicapping games and we're on losing streaks, it happens to everybody. You get tensed up and you'll say, well, instead of putting out 5 plays, I'll put out 1 play. And okay. You put out the 1 play and it loses and the other 4 win. You're questioning yourselves. And that's the way the Detroit Tigers are doing. They're questioning themselves right now. And it's really getting into their heads. And Cleveland with the run they're on, although I blame yesterday's loss on the manager, is Zabrowski's in there as a lefty. He hadn't pitched in 2 days. I know he did warm up, but they replaced him with Festa, and then Lee turned around and went from his weaker position of batting right-handed to his strong power position of batting left-handed, hits a 2-run homer, and the Tribe loses. Well, I call him the Tribe. Cleveland loses. But I've not been happy with the Cleveland manager this year, but he's gotten them where they are, and that's better than what I ever thought they would get there. But yeah, Detroit's somewhere in the middle, but next year is the time you want to bet on the Tigers before the season.
Yeah, pretty much agree with Bryan. They were playing way over their heads in the first half of the season. They're an above average team that's well put together and a good manager. But the problem with the Tigers is if they can't manufacture runs, small ball runs, then they can't win. And if they don't win when Scooble's on the mound, then they're probably going to lose the series. That's just the way the Tigers are. They don't have much of a rotation. They have a lot of scrappy guys who can, when they get, the thing with the Tigers was in the first half, all of them had hitting streaks at the same time. So that's why they were such a juggernaut. And now they're kind of coming back to earth. They're an above average team. They're not a World Series team, in my opinion. They're on the brink of a playoff team, basically, and they played way over their heads in the beginning of the season. And I think now, like Bryan said, they're playing worse than they actually are. But they're an above average team. So that's probably where they will end up.
So I think they're a below average team from a talent standpoint. And I've said this since the beginning of the year. I felt like that. You can go back to that Mariners series right before the All-Star break when they get swept. And then they obviously had 5 All-Stars. So they kind of, and like Bryan was saying, they had such a big lead. It was like, all right, they kind of mailed it in for that Mariners series. Then they had guys who go to the All-Star game. So of course, those guys coming back, there was a little bit of a hangover. Suddenly they lost 8 straight games or whatever it was, 9 in a row. Still didn't matter. Still had a huge lead, but they've never, like, if you go back to the beginning of the year, I was watching Tigers spring training games. And one of the things they said was, like, they kept saying, like, this team is built on pitching and defense. Like, they pretty much admitted in the spring, like, yeah, we're not really sure about this, like, our lineup. We We don't know that we have, like they said without saying that if we're going to win games, it's going to have to be 2-1 type games. Small, like TB was saying, small ball. AJ Hinch out managing the other manager, stuff like that. And I just think right now, like it's not like they're not trying, but like you were saying, Brandon, you get past Skubal, like, yeah, you got a generational talent starting pitcher, Cy Young candidate, Cy Young, like, winner, like he's as good as it gets. After that, it's like, Hinch is just out there trying to mix and match. He doesn't have a great lineup. It's a below average talent lineup. His sort of allotment of pitchers isn't as good as it was last year. And I think you're just starting to see, like, okay, you can't, there's a reason that a quote unquote bullpen game, there's a reason not everyone's doing it, right? Like that no other team is really like all getting to a point to a series or a rotation where they're like, yeah, let's go with a bullpen game. It's because it typically doesn't work. And last year, I think it was like incredible the rate at which the Tigers were winning, piecing together like 9 innings from their bullpen. And now they're trying to do it at times this year. It's just not working. And the offense, like you guys were saying, they were having career years in the first half. This was never a great offense anyway. So to me, like the Tigers, I got to be honest. I don't know that they're like much of a playoff team. I think if they do get in at this point, that they're just, I don't see they don't have any talent. So I don't, unless they like all of a sudden get back to like just doing everything correctly and winning games 2-1, like they're not better than these other teams that they're going to be playing against. So that's sort of my take on that. I just think that the lack of talent has caught up with them and they can't overcome it anymore. And now you mix in the pressure that Bryan has brought up. It's like it's the literal recipe for disaster. And that's what you're seeing play out. Good question, Markins. And that was good. Now, how do you action that? Like, what's actionable off that? Since this is a betting show, I don't know. I'm probably fading the Tigers. Well, let me go back to you, Bryan. If the Tigers get in, are you worried about them? Is it almost like, do you think they get rejuvenated by holding on to the playoff spot? I'm talking about next week once we have playoffs.
Actually, if Detroit gets in, I probably will be on them because the value of everybody's thinking they backed into the playoffs. Well, all that pressure's off. Once they're in the playoffs, hey, then it's a whole new ball game. You see that in college basketball a lot of times when you get to the tournament time when you're playing
bubble team.
Yeah, when you're playing in those games. So they get a second chance, and that's the way I look at it. Detroit's staying personnel is what they've had all season for the most part, but the pressure's been high on them. But if I could catch them against a popular team like the Yankees or something to that effect, or even Toronto, then I'm looking to. I think there will be value on Detroit. Don't know if we'll get there, but if we get enough value, it's worth playing.
Well, before we go to TB, because I want you guys to both. Do you have anything? Do you want to very quickly give us something you're looking for this series starting tomorrow? Because obviously, like, what bigger series is there in Major League Baseball right now than Tigers at Guardians the next 3 days? So are you looking for a way into that series? Have you thought about it yet?
I have not seen the matchups yet. I don't think Cleveland's announced them, but Detroit has said who's going to go. Normally, I play against what happened the last time they play. For example, with the Sale situation, and we talked about the game earlier. And these teams know each other very well. Home value is very low in this division. So I'll try to probably find ways to play Detroit. And if I'm not going to win with my favorite team, at least I can make some money.
Yeah, regarding the Tigers, I think if they get in, I think they're already in the playoffs, right? I mean,
no, not even close. They are on their way out the door if they don't win a game this week, or like,
they'll win a game this week, but
they're only one game ahead of the Guardians, and I think they would be tied for the last wild card spot. Right?
That's amazing.
Is that how
Cleveland's tied with Houston right now, and they have the tiebreaker. And
they were
Seattle. Congratulations to you on that, by the way, Trig. Seattle's looking good.
It's a great result for the Mariners this weekend. Go ahead,
Detroit
TB.
was
Sorry.
like 10 games ahead in their division. That's
They were
unbelievable.
15 and a half up at one point.
15 and a half. Amazing how far they fell. But look at their starting rotation. They got Jack Flaherty, arguably, well, he's definitely a top 2 pitcher in MLB. He's either 1 or 2. And then after that,
Skubal.
Skubal, not Flaherty.
Yeah.
Skubal, sorry. After that, they got Flaherty, Mize, and Montero, and those guys, those none of those guys you would call an ace. I wouldn't call any of those guys a second starter. Bad rotation. And their bullpen's not very good either. So, yeah, I wouldn't put a lot of hope in Detroit. Cleveland's playing like crazy right now. Like Ciccone had another like 8-inning 1 hit or 1 earned.
Go up and down with that guy all season long, man.
That guy, man.
Together.
Since he was at Arizona, he's been a thorn in my side because I want to fade him so bad because his peripherals look so horrible. But then he goes out there and he throws like he did the other day, like a 8-inning 1 earned run or 3-hit 1 earned game. You know, I don't know what to make of that guy, but he's number 4 in their rotation. They got Bybee, Williams, and Logan Allen. Those are not guys that strike fear into anyone either. The thing about Cleveland is they're raking right now. So, yeah, I mean, who thought a month ago that Cleveland even had a shot of making the playoffs? Probably nobody. But now they're just playing like fire. They're playing like Detroit played in the first half. So, pretty crazy stuff. I think Detroit and San Francisco, those 2 teams are absolute fades from here on out, in my opinion.
So interesting. I just pulled up the division market. It looks like a lot of these places still have the Tigers priced like -160, -165, -170 to win the division. I guess I understand why. Well, you're going to get Skubal twice, most likely, because he's pitching tomorrow. And then you would have to think that it's his ball on Sunday if it's a meaningful game. So they've got it set up where it's going to be Skubal tomorrow and then Skubal again on Sunday, unless they don't need him for some reason.
He's been getting tagged lately, though.
What I was going to say is I still think I would fade them. All 6 of their games are on the road against teams that might need to win. They're going to go 3 against the Guardians, 3 at Fenway. That's what they end with. 3 at the Guardians, 3 at Fenway. Like that's, I don't know that I make them a -170 price to win that division under those circumstances, when you'll have the Guardians at home and then the Guardians get to close at home with Texas, who looks like they've mailed the season in at this point.
Yeah, good point.
So,
and
why would you have
Skubal's been getting hit lately too. He's not invincible.
If they have to use Skubal on the final Sunday, that means he pitches the 3rd game of the series.
Oh,
that throws them in bad shape if they've got to use Skubal.
Yeah. I mean, Flaherty's not horrible, but I mean, he's kind of unpredictable as well. He's really good at home and poor on the road, but yeah, not a guy you want your playoff hopes dependent on, right?
I actually think that's like potentially worth a bet. Like if you're trying to, if you're since we have a little extra time, we'll dig into some of the other markets. Like I think that pricing is off. I understand I think the books are, and I only looked one place, so obviously shop around. I think they're looking and saying, well, we've got a price Skubal being like whatever, a favorite in twice. But actually, what is Skubal favored on the road against the Guardians and the Red Sox at this point? -160? What's he going to be? What do you think the line tomorrow is going to be? Higher than that, Brian?
Depends on who he's going against.
It looks like it's going to be Gavin Williams.
It
looks like it's going to be Gavin Williams.
There'll be
the current ace of the Guardians. Ace against ace. He probably
-150?
140 maybe.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think you're going to get higher than in that game. Right now, I'm guessing that price opens something like -150, -140, -150. And then you're talking about at Fenway could be different. If the Red Sox have nothing to play for on Sunday, that's a little bit different. I think the Guardians, if you can get like plus, so I looked at one spot. It's like +125. You can probably find better than that. If you can find better than that, absolutely worth a bet. because
I think it'll be higher than that. I think it'll be 160. The books.
No, I'm talking
the books
about
are
for
in
the
luck.
Guardians to win the division. Guardians to win the
Oh.
division should be
Not
like
just okay.
because you're going to get 6 home games from the Guardians, 3 of which are against a Rangers team that has completely given up. I mean, they looked totally uninterested at playing baseball this whole week. I think they've now lost 7 straight. And we've talked about that team on this show being like, what'd you say, Bryan? 25 players, 25 cabs? Like they all just go their separate way?
Yeah,
like
a lot of veterans on that team that have fought very hard. I mean, yeah, I can see them getting.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like you're telling me that the Guardians, that's what they're going to get the last week of the season on the line, and they're going to get an uninterested Rangers team coming in, and the Tigers are going to have to go to Fenway Park, where actually the Red Sox might have to hold off one of these other teams, right? Like where are we at with them in the standings?
Yeah.
I mean, they're only a game ahead of the Guardians, so there's a scenario where suddenly they're fighting to hold off Houston or one of these other teams for that last wild card spot. So I think it's a very interesting setup all of a sudden.
The Red Sox definitely need it. Texas Rangers are definitely playing uninspired ball. I haven't seen anyone. I mean, the teams that I'm definitely fading down the stretch would be the Tigers, the Giants, and possibly the Padres. Man, the Padres look so bad right now. But yeah, I agree with you that Cleveland certainly could win all 6 of those games conceivably.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they win tomorrow, you just ended up with like insane value on that bet. Like if you think the Guardians can win tomorrow, that division bet, in my opinion, is a very good bet because they will be in the driver's seat in the AL Central if they can pull off the win tomorrow. And then you're sitting there with like potentially like plus 130 on them to win the division. Yeah. Anyway, it's good. It's a good conversation. I wasn't really thinking about that, but I looked at lineup and I'm just like, oh, they're putting way too much faith in Scooble right there, pricing that where it is. That the books are basically telling you they think the Tigers are going to win tomorrow, and I don't know if I fully agree with that. So I'm going to go. If we don't, I'm just going to see if there's another MLB question. I know we're kind of rambling. We already did the 3 games. So if you've missed, it's probably a good time to like promote the site since that's where we are supposed to do that at some point. So if you've missed any part of the show, as always, it is up on the Wager Talk YouTube channel, on demand, live and on demand. Feel free to head on over there, like, subscribe. It does help the show tremendously. I don't know if I'm going to end up with a Major League Baseball play today, but I may have something in KBO. TB, do you guys have anything up for sale right now?
I don't.
I do. I have an MLB play out, and I probably will have KBO and Japanese baseball out as well later on.
I have nothing up right now, but I am going to fill you in on a bet I'm going to make. It's not baseball related. In the WNBA playoffs, Indiana beat Vegas the first game. They couldn't stop Boston underneath, and too much speed from the guards of Indiana. You can get Indiana to win that series right now at plus $2. That's the bet I'm making in that. Obviously, a lot of people aren't interested, but hey, like I said, I will bet anything I can as long as I can get some profit on it. So
yeah,
that's all going to be on my.
No, I love that. So sorry, Bryan, I didn't mean to cut you off. What's the bet?
Problem. Indiana to beat the Las Vegas Aces in the series. They were a huge underdog going into game 1. And I watch the Aces all the time. I watch all the games. Marco is a season ticket holder. They don't match up. They didn't match up with Seattle. They were lucky to win that last series. They haven't matched up here. They got the best player in basketball in Asia Wilson, but not a good matchup for them against Indiana. Indiana's playing with a lot of you got to root for a team that loses their 3 best players, and now they're still playing so well. Great coaching job there.
I tried to jump in because you talking about that reminded me of something I wanted to bring up. So I'm hoping Bryan goes and maybe roots this home for me in person at some point this week. But I want to talk about the AAA playoffs that start this week. And Bryan and I were having this conversation off air the other day, but I think it's worth pointing out. So if you're unfamiliar with how this works, the way AAA baseball does their playoffs, they have a first half champion and a second half champion. And then those two teams play a best of 3 on each side, Pacific Coast League, International League, and then the winners go out to Vegas and play a 1-game sort of winner take all. They call it the AAA championship game. The interesting thing about that is to me you get the first half team in the playoffs, but these teams are so different throughout the course of the year. And so Las Vegas was the first half champs in the PCL. But a lot of those guys have been up now. A lot of those guys, Colby Thomas, Daryl Hernandez, like that were big parts, even Kurtz for the first month of the season, that were big parts of that winning the first half are not, JT Ginn, he's been up. Like, the list goes on, are no longer with the team. So now you have Tacoma. They weren't much of anything in the first half. Suddenly in the second half, the Mariners get healthy, and they have all these good players down at AAA. Even right now, like Leody Taveras can't find his way onto a big league club. What was he, like a huge part of a World Series team 2 years ago? Can't get out of AAA. The Mariners just have too many good players. So you have a scenario where Tacoma, second half champions, 47-27. That was what the Rainiers were in the second half. Vegas in the second half, 34-40. Even Bryan was like, this team's playing like garbage. Like, he goes to a couple games, says they're not playing any good. But they're going to play this quote-unquote playoff series where they're going to get priced as equals. And now to add another layer to it, the game is in Vegas. So you might even have Tacoma an underdog there. It'll depend on the pitching, but that's kind of what we were chatting about off air. Might have a good opportunity to bet Tacoma over the next couple days, depending on who the pitchers are. And hopefully Bryan will go and root it home for us in person. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to get off topic there, but I'm just telling you, I'll be looking for a way to play Tacoma at some point in that series. And their issue has been pitching. So it'll have to be, I don't know who I would necessarily want as a starter from a pitching standpoint, but it'll be more like if we see our guy, Tokyo Brandon, if we see them run Aaron Brooks, former Kia Tiger out there, I'll probably fade him.
Speaking of future bets, let's just do a round table real quick of who you think is going to win the World Series.
In like 2 seconds or less, because we're going to wrap this up
2
soon.
seconds or less.
30 seconds or less. Who do you think is going to win the World
Series? I think the Phillies are going to win it, even without Wheeler, man. Their rotation, they still got 3 guys in the top 10. And if their bullpen can come around, I think it's the Phillies going to win it this year.
Take the Dodgers. They've got much more depth than Philadelphia has, and they're playing great ball now. And the pitching rotation is being set up very well. Suzuki will be back this week. I think he may be pitching out of the bullpen, and their bullpen definitely needs some help.
Trinan needs some help.
They need to do something with him. Yeah, something's wrong.
I'll say the Blue Jays, and more because I'll say that they can get there, and then maybe they get there, then I have a chance. I do think I am kind of with you guys. I think the winner probably comes from the National League, but the American League is much softer. I think the Blue Jays have best lineup 1-9. I think Trey Savage could be a very interesting piece for them if they use him correctly. I always like a team that potentially has a really good middle relief arm. I'm hoping that's sort of how they use him. Bring him in 5th inning and just let him go for 3 innings. And he didn't pitch like great yesterday, but I still think what we've seen at the big league level stuff is nasty. Again, it's a very, in my opinion, the American League is weak. And I know the Yankees are playing good ball right now, but I still think I just like the Blue Jays lineup 1-9. I think, are they going to get Bichette back at some point?
Not in the regular season. No,
but I mean, at some point in the playoffs, can he?
The playoffs? I don't know yet. I will say this is not based on betting value. This is who I think is going to win.
Right.
Yeah.
If the Dodgers
that's
are
what
minus 500 favorite, I'm not betting them. So, we don't know yet what the numbers are going to be. I doubt there'll be any value on the Dodgers at all, or the Yankees, because of the big cities that they play, maybe even the Cubs also. We'll look at that next week when we get to the playoffs shows.
I will say this just very quickly. I mean, and I just use the Blue Jays to have something different because I agree with you on the Dodgers. I'd rather have Dodgers 5-1 right now than Blue Jays 8-1. That's what you're looking at to win the World Series. So I think I agree with that Dodgers call. They're playing their best ball of the year. They have the best roster. Hard to believe if they are playing to their potential that they're not there again. So
hard to count out Seattle as well, because Seattle's a well put together team with a great rotation and a good bullpen and the best hitting catcher in MLB. So
financially, that would be the best for me. That would be the best for my wallet. I'll tell you that. That would be the best for my wallet because I still have them in futures to do just that. So, all right, we made it an hour. I didn't know if we would make it an hour today, but it's like we always can find something to talk about baseball related. Yep. Hopefully you guys had could hopefully we gave you something that was actionable. At the very least, we did parlay all three of these games together. So we'll see if we can hit a 3-teamer on a day there's only 3 games. Bryan Leonard says Nationals plus 1.5. I'm going to go with Brewers as a small underdog plus 110. Tokyo Brandon's going to close it out with Cardinals plus 1.5. That parlay pays 545 plus 545. And right now we had a good week on the parlays last week, even with the loss on Friday. For every $1, if you were to bet these evenly all year, for every $1, it's returned $7.14. So pretty happy about that we've been able to fire out a 3-teamer since April, and we're essentially up 7.14 units. That's I think that's underrated. I didn't think we'd be up at this point because it's hard to win 3-teamers. So Steve Duke, is this our last week? No, we're going to be here through the playoffs, at least through most of it, at least through the earlier rounds when there's a lot to talk about. So we're not going anywhere. And Adrian, I said this last week. I'm allowed to tease this now. I'm going to bring this show right into college basketball. So the title will change. Someone was like Total Baskets. It's not going to be Total Baskets. I have a different title. The title will change. The panel will change, but the show is going to be pretty much exactly the same. So it's going to be myself, Brian Power, and Rob Vino, and we're going to do our best to answer questions on 364 Division I college basketball teams. So it is going to be a challenge, but we're up for it. So we're not going anywhere, and the 3 of us will absolutely be with you through the playoffs. So looking forward to that. But yeah, another good show. We've got the 3-teamer. I'll read it off one more time. It is Nats plus 1.5, Brewers money line, Cardinals plus 1.5, plus 545. Hopefully we got another winner right there. Check out the site. TV's got a play up for sale. I'll probably have a Korean baseball play. Brian's going to have stuff as well. We always do. And we will see you guys tomorrow morning for the normal show, the full slate, 9 a.m. We'll see you guys in the morning.